And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to chat this morning a little bit about a very, very, very important part of the presentation. Before we get done, though, and wrap up, Maria, you mentioned a piece that you read in an Eagle about, about the 24, I think it was the 24-hour close that John Coffey. And that is something that love to hear a little bit more about, but also just the basic idea, guys, that I'm going to share with you right now. Eagles are an incredible tool to get better in our business. They give us ideas. They keep us fresh. I can remember roughly 21 years ago, it was right around this time, January, February, March of 2002. I was about 3 or 4 months into my career. And I remember that one of the things Peter said I needed to create the habit of every morning. He said, Van, just dial in your morning routine. He said, what's something that you do every day? I said, well, I get up and I drink 2 cups of coffee and I eat breakfast. He said, well, what do you normally eat? I said, well, I explained to my cereal concoction that I would make up, my grape nuts and my mix. And he said, Van, well, what you want to do is if you're already sitting there eating your breakfast, with your breakfast every day, there's two pieces you want to add to your diet. And that is read a pair of Eagles and a pair of testimonials. If you'll do that 5 times a day, you'll read 10 testimonials and 10 Eagles per week. You'll read 40 per month. And I can promise you, you will pick up some ideas in those Eagles that you'll be able to utilize in the field in your business. And you will pick up great belief in the product that's only going to help you when you're out there in the field of battle. And he kind of used the analogy of going to work every day. It's kind of like going to battle. You know, you never would see a soldier in the army go to battle without a helmet, right? Back in medieval times, you would never see a knight go to battle without putting on their suit of armor, because that's what protects them. And Peter used to say that, putting that suit of armor or reading those testimonials as IRAs, it's like putting on your armor, because what happens is there's people out there taking shots at you all day long. Oh, we don't need that. We've got Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It covers everything, right? Oh, we're all set. We've got insurance. We're insurance poor. You start hearing things like that enough over and over and over, eventually you start to believe things, even when they're not true. Because guys, at the end of the day, we've got testimonials that say, I got great health insurance. I got Blue Cross and Blue Shield. It didn't begin to cover all my bills that I had, like my mortgage and car payment and utilities and travel to my treatments. It didn't cover my gas. But guys, if we don't properly put on our armor each day before we go to battle, we can get picked off. And so, guys, I just want to encourage you guys to make that part of your deal. Guys, Maria does really, really well here. Okay. Now, did she do really, really well? And as a result of doing well, she said, well, now I'm going to start reading Eagles in the morning. No, that's just part of her routine. And guys, I want to encourage you, make it part of your routine. And you do things like that by setting alarms to remind yourself to do it, and then making it easy. If you're having to go scurry around to look for them every day, it's hard. But if you'll go in and you'll go into the archives on FHLconnect.com and go ahead and just print up 40 of them at the beginning of the month and have them sitting there in a stack, and just grab the next 2, grab the next 2, grab the next 2. It's easy to do, and you're setting yourself up for success. So that's just something I would certainly encourage you guys with. Definitely worth it. But guys, I want to talk to you guys today about our introduction. And guys, there's 3 parts of the introduction that we're going to talk about. Okay. And I really hope you'll write some detailed notes down and utilize this. We're going to talk about establishing rapport. Number 2 is building interest. And number 3 is how to create a buying atmosphere. All right. Those are 3 critical pieces of your introduction that have to happen. And if you leave one of those out, guys, or you just don't do it well, it's kind of like leaving a really important ingredient out of a meal that you're doing, Again, baking powder no one ever said I'm going to eat a big old plate full of baking powder. Doesn't taste really good on its own. But if you're going to bake a cake, it's a necessary ingredient. Okay. So none of these on their own make a sale, but leaving them out will certainly cost you families protected that should be getting protected. Remember, guys, step 1 is showing up, but step 2 is showing up prepared. Okay. We got to show up prepared. And that takes time working on our business outside of working in our business, the 40 plus hours that we're doing that. So guys, when you're calling on someone at work, it is important to remember that the prospect is probably preoccupied with other matters. Guess what? If you call on them at their home, they'd be preoccupied with other matters. That's okay. They may be fielding phone calls. They may be talking with potential clients. They may be answering emails. Heck, guys, they may be playing solitaire on the other side of that computer screen that you can't see. Okay. Or they can do other things that everyone does during the day at work. Okay. So certainly the last thing on their mind is talking to a salesperson. And that's okay. So in order that we be able to effectively communicate with a prospect, we must first get their mind off whatever activities may be preoccupying them. Okay. The main purpose of the introduction is to set the right environment for presenting and selling your product. Okay. And so there's 3 things that you want to do during that introduction. As we mentioned earlier, 1 is establish rapport, 2, build interest, and 3, create a buying atmosphere. Okay. Again, in a business setting, you usually don't have as much time in these 3 steps. So you need to be able to move quickly and be nimble. Establishing rapport is brief and you focus more on building interest. Okay. In residential selling, you have a little more time typically and less distractions, if you will. Okay. But in business selling, you must get the emphasis on capturing their interest quickly. Okay. So step 1. Establish rapport. One of the most important, enjoyable things in selling is making friends with your customer. Okay. It's something that you already know how to do really well because you've been doing it your whole life. You've been making friends, meeting people. Okay. Don't make it anything bigger than it is. It's important, guys. First, write this down, please. Be a person before you're a salesperson. Okay. It's important to realize that people like to do business with those that they like and those that they trust. The best way to accomplish this is to be relaxed, natural, and sincere. Genuinely interested in the welfare of your prospect. Guys, write this down. You can't be nervous when your mind is on service. So take the focus off of you, put the focus on them, helping them, doing what's best for them. When you help enough people get what they want, as a byproduct, you'll get what you want. But focus on helping others. Your prepared sales presentation has good material that you can incorporate into your introduction, but the warmth in which you say the words and genuine interest, which you express, will be the key that gets the prospect to take a serious look at your product. Guys, if you've gone out and watched your leader, watched another top producer work, it's not always just the words, but it's how it's said. It's the sincerity. Okay. It's saying it with emphasis. It's smiling. It's loving people with your eyes. Your job as a sales professional is to establish rapport with your prospects. A good definition of rapport would be finding a common ground. Okay. Examples of this would be people that you both know. Guys, that is one of the fastest ways in the world to gain trust, is find a common person. That's why getting referrals is so valuable, because you already know when you go see a referral, you know someone in common. It's the person that sent you, the person that gave you the referral. If you're not calling on a referral, then you've got to drop 15, 20 names in your approach, introduction, to try to connect with one. It's like shooting with a shotgun and that buckshot, shoots out. You're trying to get one of those pellets to hit. When you're working referrals, it's like shooting with a rifle. You got one bullet, hit your target. Okay, so whether you hunt or not, that's hopefully an analogy that could make sense there. But people you both know is another one. Interest in family's activities. Okay. A common hobby. We're just talking about, the weather or the news. I wouldn't get too stuck into the weather, but it's a nice little one if you can't think of anything else. But guys, looking around at people's desks, looking around at the wall. Oh, you went to NC State. Oh, you graduated UVA. Go Hokies. Or Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. UVA. Go Cavaliers. Okay. It puts them at ease when they can talk to you as a friend. Okay. With very little practice, it's possible to approach anyone and find something in common to talk about before you begin your presentation. What's said during the introduction certainly will vary with every prospect a little bit, but the outline is basically the same for the introduction. Okay. So, hey, like I said, Susie, my name's Van. I've had a chance to talk with a lot of the employees at the businesses here in Raleigh. Hey, this will be a lot quicker over at that desk, and then just walk over. Okay. Guys, when you're walking into a place, you're going to want to be looking around for, where am I going to be able to show this? Sometimes it might be standing up at a desk. Sometimes there might be that little desk over to the side that you can go over and kind of get someone isolated. Okay. But some great questions to get the ball rolling. Hey, are you originally from here? Oh, you're not. How long have you lived in the area? Okay. How long have you worked here? Okay. I see from the ring, you're married. You guys have kids? You little ones running around? Oh, that's awesome. What grades? As you go through these questions, mention names of clients that relate. Okay. Now, I know cancer is not a very pleasant subject to talk about, but it sure seems to be affecting a lot of folks in this area. In fact, just right here within a couple blocks, I don't know if you know Mike Johnson that runs the dry cleaner up on the corner, but his wife actually went through a battle with breast cancer, and she was out of work for about 4.5, 5 months. Actually went up to Duke to get her treatment, and she's good now, but it sure did linger with the finances. And again, guys, use approved names with discretion. Okay. But you want to make names 3D, guys, 3-dimensional names. That's describing those names in some detail and talking about them a little bit. Okay. If you don't mind me asking, who's the closest person to you? Either friend, coworker, family member, someone from church who's fought cancer. And guys, a lot of times, they say a family member. You want to act a little bit surprised, even though you're not. Oh gosh, in your family. Okay. Almost as if to say, wow, my level of concern for you is now higher because you're saying in your family. Okay. Guys, that's a small thing that helps create a little bit of need. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Now, was she treated, first off, is she okay? Did she survive? Okay, great. Now, was she treated right here in Raleigh, or did you guys go down the road to Duke or Chapel Hill? Guys, in each case, find out the type of cancer, how long ago it was, how it turned out, how old they were they treated locally? Ask these questions. Nearly every person I talk to tells me how concerned they are with the devastating effect that cancer is having on their neighbors, friends, and family. In fact, boom, now you're right into the demo. Guys, when somebody engages you in a conversation, right there too, you can also say, oh gosh, you know what? This is going to be so easy to explain to you, given what you just shared with me. Nearly every person I talk to tells me how concerned they are with the devastating effect cancer is having on their neighbors, friends, and family. In fact, boom, right into it. Guys, allow the prospect to answer your questions. Okay. Remember, guys, it's more important to be interested than interesting. So when you ask a question, wait for an answer. Don't just be ready for your next thing. This is why you need to know your sales talk like the back of your hand, so you're not having to continuously think about the next thing that's supposed to be up in order. You can focus on the person in front of you. So the dialogue is going to vary from prospect to prospect because things such as age, employment status, but the gist of it's very straightforward and simple. Okay. Practice until you become very, very relaxed with the words and natural. Again, guys, your favorite movie, the actors were delivering lines. It didn't seem that way because they knew them very, very well. They're professionals. We want to be just as professional. So the establishing rapport section of the introduction is very important because it sets the tone for the rest of your time that you spend with them. You want to make a friend, then make a client. So guys, that's rapport. I'll pause for a second. Any comments about rapport?
Not really, Van. But a key to that, and I learned this from Dan Shelton 4 or 5 years ago, just to help me relax when I was new, because I was all up in my head going, oh, I don't know the sales talk as well as I need to know it. So he said, Zach, just think about FOR, F-O-R, family, occupation, recreation. So when walking in, people love to talk about their family, look for pictures on the wall, Occupation, what exactly do you here? How long have you been doing it? What does your spouse do? People love talking about their work. And then recreation, hey, what do y'all do for fun on the weekends? Like, do you like to ride dirt bikes like Donnie does? It's like small little 3D comments like that help them realize, oh man, this guy's in the area or this girl's in the area and talking to everybody. They're not the first person in the pool. So FOR,
Yep.
F-O-R.
Thank you for sharing that, Zach. Guys, let's talk about how to build interest in your product, okay? People buy things that they're interested in. People usually aren't interested until you help ask right questions and help create that interest in what you do. Remember, the purpose of selling your product is not to provide the customer with paper and ink, okay? Your purpose is to help that family in a very serious area of life care, of healthcare, by providing financial security, okay? An important part of your introduction is to build interest in what your product can do for people. So your sales presentation has great material built right into it to create customer interest that you can use before you show the product. You accomplish this by asking questions pertaining to areas in which your policies are designed to help. Your goal is to get the prospect very interested in seeing the policy before you even show it to them, even to the point that they would come close to buying it before you even presented it. Okay? Guys, that's because you're selling the sizzle, right? The sizzle is the why. It's why they need it. The steak is the benefits. Okay? Sell the sizzle, not the steak. The second part of the introduction is designed to get the prospect interested in their personal need for your product. The actual process by which you build interest is nearly always the same with each prospect. The first 7 pages of the presentation book of your presentation are the tools for sparking their interest in the product. Okay, and you can find all the building interest material in your sales presentation tutorial. So study it and understand the message that it's communicating, and commit it to memory so you can use it effortlessly. Guys, I'll share with you too. There's what's called the 2 need finding questions that we need to get really, really good at asking. Okay. And that is, I'm going to give you the short version of it, but then I'm going to give you the longer version for how to actually ask it. One is it possible that you could get cancer? 2, if it did happen and you couldn't work for a while, would it impact your finances? Okay. But you have to dress it up a little bit better. You have to make it easy for people to give you the answer that you're looking for, which is, yeah, of course it's possible. You don't want to ask a person, hey, Joe, do you think you're going to get cancer? Because no one's going to say yes to that. No, I hope not. And you probably want to even cover that whole, I hope it doesn't happen, by asking it the right way. Joe, let me ask you something. Obviously, we hope it doesn't happen. These things we're talking about here, cancer, stroke, heart attack, injury, we hope it never happens, right? We eat organic food, we don't smoke, we work out, we drink a gallon of water a day, we do everything right to make sure we stay healthy. But just based on the facts, 1 out of 3 men, 1 out of 3 women, 3 out of every 4 families dealing with it. The fact that you mentioned earlier that you had a couple family members battle it too. Do you think it's possible that you or someone in your family could ever have to deal with cancer? Okay. That's an easy thing to say. Yeah, anything's possible. And you say, okay, again, hope it doesn't happen. But if it were to happen, and as a direct result, you were in a situation where you couldn't work for 3 months, 6 months, heck, maybe even 9 months or a year, and you still had to pay all of your bills at home, might that add some additional stress to your financial situation? Well, yeah. Yeah, we don't work for fun. We work because we need the money. Yeah, okay. Makes sense. But guys, the third and final question is just, okay, so what's your backup plan? If that was to happen today, you woke up with a sore spot, you go get it checked out, they run some tests, they call you up and they say, hey, it's cancer. Now, fortunately, it's in stage 2. We're going to be able to save your life with some really aggressive treatment. Unfortunately, though, that treatment's going to make you pretty sick and you might not be able to work for about the next 6 months. What do you have in place right now today, Zach, that's going to pay for all of your cover all of your bills for the next 6 months while you don't work? Other than your savings, what do you have? I never really thought about it. Okay, well, now that you're thinking about it, what do you have in place? Some of us let people off the hook when they say, I've never thought about that before. Well, what do I do now? Well, now that you're thinking about it, what do you have in place? Nothing, I guess. Okay, well, that doesn't sound like a very good backup plan, does it? No. It's a good thing we're talking. Guys, that right there, that's the need finding questions. You take a person from being a suspect to a prospect by asking those 3 questions really well. Okay. Don't ever show a benefit unless you know exactly that they know exactly why they need it. And if you don't, those 3 questions are the way to find it out. Guys, the last part here, I'll pause for a second. Any questions about anything I just said right there about finding the need and building interest? So important, guys.
Van, it's not a question, but I noticed as soon as I started implementing the 2 need finding questions, I won't say my career changed, but definitely I feel like I'm way more control in the demonstration. And, when you describe it like fishing, you catch a fish, you feel them on the end of the hook, but actually setting the hook. It's like, man, there's not a better feeling going into the benefits knowing, yeah, this person's getting it. I just need to show them that this is affordable. So those are huge. And it's just getting over the awkwardness. Oh, I feel awkward, asking people directly. It's like, man, well, you're doing them a disservice if you walk away and you didn't ask those questions. Because picture them in 6 months from now, they blow you off, or you just did not build the need properly enough. They're going to be kicking themselves and possibly kicking you,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Zach. Guys, guys, remember, at one point in your life, walking was awkward. At one point in your life, talking was awkward. But guys, we do those things with ease now. Why? Because of repetition. This is the same way. It's just using a new muscle that some of you have never used before. But with repetition and desire, you can develop that. So guys, last part I'm going to share, and then we're going to wrap things up for today, but I want to talk to you about creating a buying atmosphere, okay? Guys, this is absolutely important. If you're getting a lot of procrastination, you're getting spouse objections at the end, there's a really good chance that your buying atmosphere isn't as strong as it needs to be, okay? Guys, a buying atmosphere is in direct contrast to a selling atmosphere. Think about when you go shopping. Chances are that many of the sales professionals you encounter don't take the trouble to find out your needs or find out what you're interested in. They just want to sell you something to make a profit. In contrast, you may shop at stores where you feel like the sales professionals are sincerely interested in helping you solve a problem. They take a minute to get to know you and talk about the situation you have, and then help you find a solution to your product by demonstrating how their product will suit your needs. If they can't solve their problem, they're honest about it, and they may even help you solve it by referring it to another source or another store. The important point here is that you do not feel as if you're being forced to buy something. People love to buy, they hate to be sold. So instead, you feel free to buy it. Okay. Nobody likes to feel like they're being sold, but everyone loves to buy. Just remember that, guys. Or write it down. The best sales professionals create a buying atmosphere to help the customer relax. A buying atmosphere will also help you overcome objections when you get them, because you can emphasize, it's up to you, Susie. Let me show you one more feature that Joanne Smith down at the dry cleaners really liked. In the introduction, creating a buying atmosphere is specifically addressed right before you show the actual line by line benefits of the policy. Okay, it goes a little like this. Okay, it'll just take me a couple of minutes to explain the policy, but I think you'll see right away why so many families have it, like the Johnsons and Mike Smith and Susie and Steve Dornbush, and so on and so on and so on. This is when you want to point to and mention 5, 6, 7 names. At this point, show the prospect the list of all the people who own the policy, reading off 10 to 15 names. As you read the names, notice which ones are hot names. That is, the ones which the prospect acknowledges as a friend or an acquaintance, or at least someone that they've heard of. Okay, guys, in B2B, they might not know the actual person, but they might be familiar with that person's business. You know, not everybody in Raleigh knew all the truck drivers for East Coast Towing, but man, they all knew those bright yellow tow trucks that said East Coast Towing, right, that are all over town. If you were in Garner, everybody knew Paul Best's. He had a big old H2 Hummer, that bright yellow Hummer. You know that big yellow Hummer? Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, that's Paul Best. Yeah, Paul and about 30 of his drivers and office staff, they're clients of ours too. Oh, okay. Okay. Remember those key names as you describe the benefits and advantages of the policy. It's an important principle to remember that people buy on the approval of others, meaning when they know other people are buying that they know of or have heard of, they're more open-minded to buying themselves. Nobody likes to be the guinea pig, like the first one. Okay, but people will do it if other people have been the guinea pig and they've had a good experience. Okay. Another reason, guys, why it's so important to get owner testimonials. You know, when an owner lets you into their business and you come in and you do an enrollment and you protect a few families and you've got a good rapport with them, go back and ask that owner, hey, would you mind putting a couple, did we do a good job? Everybody happy? Great. Was it a pleasant experience? No complaints? Awesome. Can I ask you a favor? Would you give me a review? People always say yes. And guys, just ask them. Put a few sentences down on a piece of their company letterhead that you can then put into your presentation piece and show to other business owners and show to other individuals. Guys, that's just being smart. I think there's two main reasons, back to role play. I think there's two main reasons why people have been getting this. First, it's simple, it's easy to understand. Okay, you're going to know in about 2 minutes if this is for you or not. Second, it's very affordable, fits in every budget. There's 4 different levels of coverage. Everybody's been able to afford something. The hardest part about my job, Zach, is just catching people, because everybody's busy. You know, people at work, they're busy. When they're at home, they're busy. So I'm going to show it to you here. And if you like it, fine. Love to work with you. If not, that's okay too. Okay. I'm not going to break down and cry right here in your showroom. Okay. I'll go cry in my car by myself later. But if you do me a big favor, if you can just let me know one way or the other when I'm done, is that fair enough? Okay, guys, right here, you have to hear the word yes. If they say, yeah, sure, no problem, then you need to follow up with, is that a yes? Meaning, is that a yes? Well, I haven't even looked at it yet. No, I don't mean that you're committing to get it, but I'm just asking you to give me a yes or a no when we finish. Is that fair? Oh, yes. Okay. Now you can move forward, guys. Big difference. Okay. Some people, if you say that, will say, well, I always want to ask my wife, or I always think about it. And that person just seconds ago said, yeah. You said, fair enough. Yeah. But then when you clarified it, it wasn't a yeah. So be sure that you're clear on the rules of the game. Make sure that your prospect understands the rules before you proceed. Okay. By telling the prospect that they might like it and they might not, it communicates that it's their own decision and that you respect that right. It allows the prospect to feel more comfortable with you because they're less likely to feel like they're being sold. So guys, I'm going to pause right there. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, any specifics you guys have run into that you'd like to ask about that some other folks might benefit from hearing the answer to? This is a great spot to do it.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there about making sure that they commit to a yes or no, not a yeah or yeah, whatever. I think that was a good point. Definitely, for sure.
Yep. If you gloss over it, guys, you will think about it. Give me some brochures, give me a card. You guys, those are just no's.
Van, this is Ron. This weekend I got a lot of spouse rejections. Even after I went through and I was like, so you can make the decision, right? Your spouse trusts you, and they're like, yes, of course I can. And then I'd finish up with everything. They'd be like, oh, I really need to check with my husband, or I really need to check with my wife. Even though they give me that solid yes, they can make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
What do I do there?
Rebuttal number one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Ron, I understand how you feel. Hey, I've had a couple of my clients feel the same way at first until they found out what this could mean for their family. Matter of fact, let me share with you this testimonial from Mitzi and Mark Nips, who have been clients of ours for a couple of decades. Mark was actually diagnosed with mouth cancer, and we paid him right at about $6,000 during that battle. They had our preferred plan. And Mitzi writes here, we were very pleased with the way family came through for us during this difficult time. We had just signed up for the insurance 1 month, and the next month my husband was diagnosed with mouth cancer. Thank goodness we didn't procrastinate and signed on when we did. You never know what the future holds. And that's really true, isn't it? Isn't it, Ron? You never know what the future holds. And it's not that the Nips were planning to use the policy just 40 days after they signed up, but it just happened, right? And
Right.
Ron, I know that if you or someone in your family were to be diagnosed with cancer, you'd want them to be able to get the absolute best treatment possible, right?
Yes.
And we both know, Ron, that best treatment can be really expensive, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And when you think about it, $84 a month or $20 a week, a lot of folks tell me they spend more than that on their cell phone bill, or gosh, I had one guy tell me he spent that taking the family out to dinner last Friday night. Heck, one fellow just last week said, man, we spend more than that for cable television. I mean, when you think about it like that, it's not really it's not a lifestyle changer at all, is it?
No, not at all.
So why wait, especially when you get your money back anyway if you stay healthy? That just makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Did you say you guys do get your mail at the house?
Yes, we get our mail at the house.
Perfect. What's that address?
1234 Save Your Life Lane.
So guys, let me ask you something. Did that rebuttal? Well, let me just pause. What did you hear?
A whole
Concern.
lot.
Concern?
Giving them new information.
giving them new information to form a new decision, because that's huge. I read a testimonial, right? And I don't have that testimonial in front of me right now, but I've read that testimonial so many hundreds of times that it just, I know it word for word. It's one of my favorites to deal with procrastination. But guys, what you heard was rebuttal number one. It's what you say every single time when you get to the end and someone doesn't just sign up. I think we really complicate things when we go, well, what do I say in this situation? What's the next thing in your sales talk? After the presentation, if they give an objection, rebuttal or response one. That's what you use every time. And guys, is it going to work every time? No, it's not going to work every time. But you know what? Neither is your demo. We just had our best week of our year last week. Anybody want to know what our closing percentage was on our demos last week?
12%.
It's a little higher than that. A little higher than that. Now, guys, we did 498 demos last week, and we protected 74 families. That's 14.9 closing percentage. That's just a little lower than 1 out of 6. You know why we had our best week? Because we did a lot of demos. Okay. But guys, that means that 85% of the time, our presentation didn't work. Guys, check this out. Rebuttal number one works. Even if it only works 10% of the time, though, guys, 498 minus 74 leaves, that's 500 minus 75 is 425 times. Guys, if that worked 10% of the times, 10% of the time, that's another 43 clients. Guys, we had 74. 43 more, that's more than a 50% increase in our week. That takes us from 73,000 last week to 110,000. Still a good week. But guys, by knowing those rebuttals, and I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent right here, where I'm trying to go with those guys, we have to know our stuff, right? And whose job is it to make sure that you know your stuff?
Ours.
Yeah. No one can do it for you, right? You just got to take the time, got to put in the effort, got to practice, got to embrace the suck, got to go through the hard part. But guys, I would challenge everybody, get better at something today. Get a little bit better at it tomorrow, a little bit better at the next day, and then go to the next thing and get better at that. Guys, you get 1% better each day, you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, whoa, I got some skills. See that closing percentage go from 12 to 15 to 18 to 20% to 25%. Some of you guys on here have 40 plus closing percentages. Didn't happen overnight, but it happened with slow, steady, consistent effort. So guys, we'll wrap up on that note right there, unless anybody has anything else to add. Maria, is your piece on the 24-hour close, is that something that's pretty brief, or is that something
that was not my original thing? That was in an Eagle written by John Coffey, attributed to Jackie Dirks, and I put it in the Protect and Family Boxer channel so people can read it there.
Thank you. That'll save us some time right now and get everybody here straight from the horse's mouth. But guys, use the tools we have in place. It works, guys. Our system works when you work. Guys, this is week 1 of the new month. And remember what we said at the beginning of the year we were going to do at the beginning of each week. And I'm going to send out the email here with it in just a second. But back to basics checklist. It's a great day. It's a perfect day to pull out the back to basic checklist. And just like my son who took the ACT for the first time, don't overthink it. Go with your gut. Scale of 0 to 4 on each one. 0 if you're not doing it at all. 4 if you do it every day. 2 if you do it half the time. Pretty simple stuff. Give yourself a grade. Go back and grade. Then let's take a look at where you were a month, 4 weeks ago at the beginning of February. Let's see what we've gotten better in. Let's see what we've just kind of run in place on. It tells a lot, guys. It's like our monthly checkup, our oil change. Let's use those guys and leaders as we do our weekly business reviews. Let's be sure that we're implementing those back to basic checklists and seeing where our new folks are and ourselves. So I'll be asking you guys as leaders about yours when we do your weekly business review this week. And please do the same for your folks. Guys, thanks for being on today. Appreciate you taking time out. And we had a great week last week. We've got a lot of momentum. Let's just keep it going. Because guys, the hardest thing to do is to get the thing going. Body in motion stays in motion. Body at rest tends to stay at rest. Let's keep the motion going. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Van.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
Got it. Bye, guys.